I've got £5,800 worth of gaming power in front of me right now because I want to test how far Nvidia graphics cards can take you in 2025. I'm going to test gaming performance, run high-end benchmarks, test AI features, and find out exactly what type of user experience you can expect at different price points if you decide to go with an Nvidia 50 series system. So I have two PCs here to make this possible. PC 1 is the U77 5070 next day PC from CyberPowerPC UK. It's got a rather unusual Cooler Master N-Core 100 Max Silver Compact ITX case. It's running a Ryzen 7 7800X3D, an RTX 5070 12GB GDDR7, 32GB of DDR5 52MHz Corsair Vengeance RAM, an MSI MPG B650i Edge motherboard, a 2TB Kingston M2 NVMe SSD, and this comes in at just under £1,800. And PC number 2 over here is a little bit more normal looking, but there is nothing normal about what's under the hood here. So this is the CyberPowerPC Masterbox 600 mid-tower gaming case, and inside we've got an Intel Core i9 4900KF, an MSI RTX 32GB 5090, MSI B670 Gaming plus Wi-Fi motherboard, 2TB Kingston M2 NVMe, and this comes in at just under £4,000. So all in all, we've got two very powerful systems respective of their price points. Now just to clarify, we are not pitting these two machines against each other, as well there'd clearly be one easy winner. So the goal instead is just to show what type of high-end experience you can expect at two different points of the market. Now clearly value is a subjective thing, and I'm not here to tell you that these price points are the only viable options in 2025. Of course there's plenty other options for plenty other budgets, but I figured it would just be a bit of fun to compare a mid-range PC with a high-end PC. All 5070 PC footage will be shot in 1440p, and the 5090 will be rocking 4K. So without further delays, let's get into the first benchmark on PC number 1 over here. So I've just hopped into Cyberpunk, and right in the middle of the city, we're already getting 120 FPS. Now if we take a look at the graphics, we can see there's actually no resolution scaling to start with, and we seem to be running most of the graphics presets on high. So to start off at such a high FPS is quite crazy actually, especially as I am moving around. I'm not just like standing still and like staring into the ground or anything to kind of cheat the frames. Yeah, so it looks like we're sitting steady around about 120 FPS. And I wouldn't say this is like a particularly easy part of the map to run either. There's a lot of buildings, there's a decent amount of traffic, there is quite a lot going on here. Okay, here we go, we're in a bit more of a dense city area now, and again, still, we're looking around about 90 FPS, which is quite crazy, especially when you consider that we haven't even started playing around with DLSS yet. But I've got to say, this looks absolutely stunning. I never really got a chance to play Cyberpunk, not properly anyway, so it's all still kind of new to me, even though it's a bit of an older game now. I'm going to push this game a little bit further though. I'm going to go for Ray Tracing Ultra preset. What I will do for now though is disable the DLSS, because I want to see how it runs without it. So if we apply those settings, hop back into game. Okay, yeah, as expected, we're chugging a little bit here. So we're sitting around about 45 FPS, still pretty good. But I know a lot of people would kind of want something higher these days, me included. I like to go for 60 at least. Okay, so I've changed the graphics a little bit. I've gone with DLSS Super Resolution in performance mode. So I'm hoping to see a bit of an uplift in, straight away, yeah, there we go, 90 FPS from, what was it, about 45? So what we've just done there is essentially double our frames by changing one setting. And to be honest, I can't tell any difference, I'm 30 years old, I'm getting kind of old. My eyes aren't what they used to be, but I feel like you would really have to get a magnifying glass out here to see any type of artifacts on the screen, because I'm not really catching any. But for an average Joe just playing the game, I really do not see any issues with this. This is actually quite beautiful. What we can do here is enable frame generation, which increases the frame rate by creating additional frames computed from existing inputs, as I just read up the top right there. And with frame generation, we are getting a pretty damn solid 140 to 150 FPS. I've got to admit, I did not expect it to get as high as it just did. That's on ultra graphics and ray tracing enabled as well. You've got all the beautiful lighting effects coming off the buildings there too. This is stunning. And just look at the reflections in the puddles as I'm driving by at night time as well. That is unreal. And the performance just genuinely feels so smooth. We're sat on 150 FPS. You've got all of these lights going on, all of these like real-time reflections with ray tracing, ultra graphics preset. It's just unbelievable. It's quite hard to believe looking at it. So yeah, Cyberpunk, not too bad at all. Okay, so I've jumped into Call of Duty Warzone, and these are the recommended settings that Call of Duty is recommended. To start off with, we have just Nvidia image scaling, which is not DLSS, and it looks like most, if not all of the details and textures are on the max settings, which is great. You know, can't really get any better than that, I suppose. Okay, so already in the pre-lobby, we are looking around about 100 to 115 FPS, which is pretty solid considering all of the players are condensed into this one area. You can see them all dropping out of the sky here. Now, what I will say is that shooters are definitely not my strong points. Don't expect anything amazing here. But already, I mean, this feels super responsive. And even in action, we're looking, what, 140 FPS still, so pretty solid. But I am actually noticing a little bit of artifact. So what I'm going to do is put Nvidia DLSS on. I think that's actually made a difference already, and we're already seeing up to 160 FPS there, so we're getting a nice little boost. Now, I'll be honest, with the 5070 being kind of the mid-range graphics card, I mean, we've got all of the graphics on high. We haven't even turned on frame generation yet. You know, the point of this video was kind of to make the systems chug, but I think the 5070 is refusing to chug on Call of Duty, I really do. I'm going to set the graphics to extreme, because they do mention here that it's to reach unparalleled visual quality. That sounds pretty good. And it can result in a low FPS count. So we'll apply that. So we're now running on extreme graphics. This is as high as this game possibly goes. And as expected, it's flawless. I mean, what can I say? We're running 1440p, we're getting 160 FPS in a battle royale game, which, you know, they're not very easy to run. So I mean, yeah, as far as performance goes, this seems pretty spot on. Zero complaints from me. So yeah, wish there was more to say on this one, but it's doing a pretty good job. I think we'll just leave it there. So yeah, Call of Duty on a 5070, it ain't bad. So I have to admit this next one is a little bit special for me. I used to absolutely love this game as a kid. I played it non-stop for 5 years, and Bethesda just seemed to shadow drop it out of nowhere this week. So it's only right we hop in and see what kind of performance we get. Now, you may or may not have already seen that this is a pretty hard game to run. It looks beautiful, but it is hard to run. So if we take a look at the graphics, it looks like the quality level is set to high for now. Something worth noting is we do not have hardware ray tracing enabled, and we are not using DLSS. And I've just come out of the main starting area outside of the sewers, and we are, oh, look at that, man. I'm sorry, but playing this game 15, 20 years ago and seeing it now is absolutely breathtaking. And the fact that we're hitting a solid 60 FPS, 65 FPS on high graphics with no DLSS is a pretty good sign for this card. And to be honest, even without ray tracing enabled, this looks insane. Okay, I want to crank this up a little bit. I want to go from the high preset up to the ultra preset. We'll see how that performs. So again, looks like everything here is on ultra. We still don't have ray tracing enabled, so I'm going to leave that for now. We'll come back to it. So this is all just raw performance. So let's see what we get if we confirm that. So as expected, looks like we're dropping down to about 40 FPS. Not the worst, not really the best either. Okay, so here we are slap bang in the middle of one of the cities, and it is raining as well, which I imagine has some impact. And to be honest, it kind of looks like we're getting better FPS here, so maybe the outside areas of this game are the tough bits to run. So let's see what would happen if we were to put DLSS on. So we'll go DLSS and we'll start off in, I tell you what, we'll just start off in the balanced mode. We'll see what happens there. So again, this is still ultra settings. We've still got the ray tracing on as well. And we've essentially doubled the frame rate. That's insane. I will never ever get over how much difference that makes. And just looking at the textures, looking at the highly detailed areas, I'm seeing no artifacting. I'm really trying to see artifacting, and I'm seeing none of it. Well, it looks absolutely beautiful, it really does. So I mean, I didn't quite expect to hit 100 FPS, but we did just get over it a little bit there, and we're still loading in all of this detail of the terrain, so this is pretty impressive. And I almost forgot to mention that this game does include DLSS frame generation. So we are going to turn that on. We're going to keep the DLSS at balanced. So I've applied those changes, and it looks like we're getting upwards of 130 FPS, which is just absolutely crazy. And I mean, I'm just running around a beautiful area here. You know, there's plenty going on. There's enemies, you know. We're in a fight. We're still getting up to 120 FPS. This is absolutely nuts. So all in all, Oblivion, I would say that's pretty good. Okay, so this is the one I've really been looking forward to. We've got Cyberpunk 2077 on the 5090. Okay, so right out of the gate, I just want to test raw performance. No DLSS, nothing fancy, just ultra graphics with ray tracing enabled and set to ultra. And we're starting off in Jig Street, which, if any of you have played this game, you'll know that it is quite an intensive area, probably one of the most intensive in the game. And we are getting a pretty respectable 50 FPS. Now, bearing in mind, this is running at 4K. We're running a 4K, ultra preset, ultra ray tracing, and it is fairly smooth. You know, this really ain't a bad experience. The game is clearly handling all the heavy crowds. We're getting all the nice reflections on the windows, in the puddles, on the ground, everything like that. Even just pure raw performance, this is insanely impressive, especially as we move up into the city area here. I mean, that's some pretty crazy draw distance. The fact that I tend to just play my games at home at 60 FPS means that this to me is, you know, it's perfect really. It looks beautiful, it feels smooth to play, but of course we can crank this up quite a lot as well. So this time around I'm going to do the quick preset of Ray Tracing Ultra, which does use DLSS, and I'm going to put the resolution to balanced. We are also going to enable DLSS Ray Reconstruction. We're going to turn frame generation on, and I'm also going to include path tracing on here. And then hopefully we should see a decent jump in performance. I mean, even moving through the city, we are maintaining a pretty solid 90 to 100 FPS. Again, this is 4K, this is everything set to the highest preset. We are using DLSS to boost the frames a little bit, but at this point, I mean, I'm seeing no drawback here, I'm really not. But we can do one better. What we can do is we can go into the settings here, and we can enable path tracing. And even with path tracing on, full graphics and a bit of DLSS helping us out, we are still hitting a solid 60 FPS. That is absolutely bananas for 4K, it truly is. So just to take it another step further, what I've done is set the DLSS frame generation to 4x. Now bear in mind here, path tracing is still on. We've got every single graphic set as high as it can possibly go. And look at that, we are sitting on 200 FPS. That is absolutely insane. So I mean, you can see here how stunning this is, and sitting on an average, I would say around about 200 FPS with all of this stuff going on in the background is just incredible. I feel like this is how this game is supposed to be played, you know? I know some people would maybe mention that with DLSS and frame gen, there's a little bit of artifacting, you know, there's a little bit of input lag. But I feel like the technology has just gotten to a point now where that stuff has just become completely unnoticeable, especially as someone like me, you know, I'm not a pro gamer, I just, you know, I play for fun, I play just casually, but stuff like this, I mean, this is kind of how I dreamed gaming would be as a kid, you know? I mean, just look at how realistic this looks as well, like to know that that little billboard up there is shining down the floor there, it's just like, it's just how it would be in real life, you know, it's crazy, mind blown, genuinely, I mean, I am very impressed by this. I think you all get the point by now that I'm pretty impressed with how the 5090 is handling all of these intense graphics. And to be completely honest, the next two games of Call of Duty and Oblivion are no different. Now to speed things up a bit, in the second half, I'm going to summarise my experience. Call of Duty was already been pushed to its limits on the 5070, so to nobody's surprise, the 5090 absolutely destroyed it. Including balanced DLSS support, I was seeing average frames of up to 200, which would go even higher with frame gen enabled, capping out at around about the 230 mark. There was literally nothing I could do in this game to make the 5090 break a sweat. It truly felt like the ultimate immersive experience. Usually, on games like this, I'm used to compensating with the graphics in exchange for top competitive performance, but with the 5090, you really do get the best of both worlds, which is honestly the same with the 5070. But if you have a high FPS monitor, which a lot of die-hard competitive players do, I'm sure the 5090 will give you an experience like no other. And jumping into Oblivion Remastered, again, this is quite the demanding game, but the 5090 breezed through it like it was playing the original 2006 version. With ray tracing enabled, max graphics and no DLSS, I was seeing an average FPS of around 55 to 60. But with DLSS and frame gen enabled, I was seeing anywhere between 120 and 200 FPS depending on the area. So all in all, fantastic performance and experience across both machines. I also ran tests with both systems on 3D Mark, and these are the results for the 5070 at 1440p, and these are the results for the 5090 at 4K. There really is no winner here, just two solid performing computers at different price points. I did say at the start that of course these aren't the only viable options in 2025, but if you're on a 30 series or older, it may be the perfect time to start considering something like this to play the latest games. You can check out both systems online at cyberpowersystem.co.uk. I'll leave links to both in the description. Comment below if you're rocking similar hardware or considering it, and we'll see you in the next video.